Hi, Electroconductress here. Today I thought we'd mess around with some controversial distortion pedals. So here we've got 4 distortion pedals, and then I've got the Empress Para EQ Deluxe to do some EQ shaping to help some of these out. So these pedals are both famous and infamous, depending on who you ask. So we've got the Digitech Death Metal, which is the newest iteration of the DoD death metal pedal from the mid-90s. This one came out maybe 2010-ish. Then we've got the Metal Muff. This is the newest iteration of this from 2021. The original one came out maybe 2006. This is the Boss Distortion DS-1. This one has been around forever. 1978, made in Japan. This is the newest model, which is made in Malaysia. And then this one maybe isn't quite so controversial, but I thought I would throw it in just as a comparison. This is the new Maestro Invader distortion. And, well, so let's see how they sound. And also, I've got my Mesa Boogie rectifier recording preamp, which also is pretty controversial. I really like it, but maybe some people don't. And everything is going into the front of the rectifier preamp. So here is my clean tone. I'm using a Fender Stratocaster with a humbucker in the bridge. And let's check out the distortion channel, the channel 2 on the Mesa Boogie rectifier. Okay, now let's start with the death metal pedal. So I don't have the Para EQ on just yet. You'll notice no gain adjustment. It's just full-on gain, no noise gate, so pretty noisy. And this is what it sounds like going into channel 1. I like it with the mid up a little bit, the high pretty low, and the low just a little left of center. Now let's check out the Metal Muff. I like the gate on this because otherwise it'd be kind of noisy. So I turn the gate where it just cuts off. Right there. right gate. I find that this EQ is kind of difficult to work with. I have everything just about in the center. If I turn anything, it just doesn't sound as good. Here's the treble. A little more mids. The bass is just about right. If I turn it up anymore, it just gets really flubby. Back to the death metal. They sound very different from each other. But I do like the metal muff that you have a gain control, and you can get some pretty good sounds with the gain turned lower. Let's see if we can get the pair EQ to help out. Maybe we don't need to do the bass control. Add a little mid range to it. More gain. Max out the gain. Okay, now let's go on to the DS-1. Oh, we definitely need the EQ on here because it gets very flubby. So I'm going to turn the low shelf down a little, turn the mids up, and you can set where you want the mids. And a parametric low gain got set as well. That's very piercing. It's not bad. But I do know not many sweet spots for this, at least with this particular setup. If I turn the distortion up more, well, just take a listen. 3/4. That's not too bad. We go all the way. There's just no middle. It's just all flub. I'll turn my mid up. Maybe a little less on the bass. Very picky, as in the pick attack is real sharp. Not crazy about that. Maybe a little less mids, a little less parametric low. Well, maxed out, it doesn't sound as bad as I remember. Maybe I got the EQ better. This pedal definitely needs some help from an EQ, I think. But you can still get some okay sounds. I think it sounds better with the gain a little bit lower though. Once you go past a certain point, it just becomes more noisy. And you don't really get more in the way of distortion. It just gets really compressed. All right, let's go back here. Turn the gain down a little bit. Yeah, that doesn't sound very good. About right there. A little bit less. Doesn't sound too bad. Much less distortion here, even with it maxed out. Without the EQ. Ugh. Gotta have some EQ help with that. Okay, now let's look at the Invader distortion. This also really benefits from having the para EQ. I'll let you hear it without the EQ first. So just very flubby, a lot of bass. So let's get rid of that. Max it out. Max out the gain. This also has a gate, which works very, very well. Not so well if you have this on lower gain settings, it can kind of cut in and out before you really want it to. This gain works a little better, I think. Sorry, this gate. Now let's compare the amount of gain you can get. Very compressed gain. Drop my pick. Let's try a little more mids. A little less distortion. Yeah. Let's go back to the Mesa. Ooh. I don't have the gain fully open on my rectifier preamp either. I've got it maybe 3/4 of the way. I don't like gain that's just over the top. I like there to be some dynamics. I don't want it to be completely squashed. I want to squash it. I'll get a compressor. So kind of the same with these. I like them not all the way up. So a quick addendum. I wanted to show you more about what the tone controls do. We'll start with the Invader distortion. So I think I like the tone with this setup into the rectifier preamp. With the tone pretty low, it's going to make it darker. And then brighten it up with the Para EQ. I got some mid boost here and some bass cut here. Let me zero the mids. See, that gets a little sharper. Halfway. Three-quarters. All the way down. see, the tone controls, where you set it, is really going to depend on your other components, like your amp, your guitar, etc. Okay, now let's look at the DS-1. So this is about as high as I like it, about at 11 o'clock, 11:30. Any more than that and it gets too piercing. And that's with this particular setup. Maybe in other amps it might sound better higher. I've still got the Para EQ on here for some bass control. I'm going to turn it down. Very, very woofy. Now I'm going to go the other way. Wow. See how that sounds with the EQ off. Yeah, that's why people don't use it up in that range. But if you use it lower, you can still shape it with an EQ. You just may have to add rather than boost. Yeah, that's a little bit too woofy for me. Maybe right there. The little mids. Yeah, not going to make you sound like that. Let's see. Let me get more in the ballpark. Yeah. And now with the metal muff, I've been playing around with it a little bit more. The treble is not useful any higher. It's very fizzy. But the mid control, you can do some things with that. So I'm going to, let's see. On this, I've just got a high-pass filter. Turn it higher for a solo. That's pretty nice. Now if we go the other way, maybe take out some of the lows, boost the level a little. Nice thrash tones back in the center. And one more note about how I'm using these pedals. Like I said, I'm putting this into the front, the input jack of the rectifier preamp, going into the clean channel. And then from the rectifier, I'm going straight into my audio interface. So it is a direct sound, even though the rectifier preamp does have cabinet emulation. It's analog cabinet emulation. Going to be digital, going to be different than digital. And you may find very different results using these pedals in front of a combo amp. Maybe I'll make another video where I do that. I've got a old cruddy Fender Jam amp from the late 80s. Not the greatest amp in the world, but we can still give it a try. But I do think that they are all okay. I think the amp sounds the best. Sometimes if you want something different, then you can try one of these infamous pedals. Let me know what you all think. And please like and subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. As far as which ones I would maybe use, I don't know. They are all very different. So they may all have a use case at some point. But I can't recommend this pedal enough. It's very high quality. And it really does a great job of shaping your tone. I put it at the end, after the distortion. Sometimes I've got a graphic EQ, a Vox graphic EQ. This one, the Tone Sculptor. Sometimes I'll put that in front and just boost the mids a little bit. And that can help with your tone as well, especially with the single coil. These examples I was playing strictly with my bridge humbucker. But have fun experimenting with sound, and let me know in the comments what you think about these pedals. And I hope you have a great day.